I think the author chose the title The Fifth Wave because it has all of these different waves. So it starts with the first and it ends with the fifth, and it kind of has all these different things that go on in each, and how things continuously get worse and how things just continuously get to expand. And in the end, it does end with the fifth wave, and they do defeat them in the fifth wave. So I think that is why she named it the fifth wave, just because it really shows how things started in the beginning and then how things evolved to the end, or in other words, in the fifth wave. Okay, so the fifth wave starts with Cassie just living her normal life at school, and then they get signs from the others. So the first wave starts with just the electricity going out, but then things start to progress and get a lot worse. So they decided that they wanted to go to Wright-Patterson and go to this kind of safe house in a way, but it was like a camp, but they wanted to wait for her mother to pass away. So she passed away in the house safely, and then they decided that they were going to leave. So it was Cassie, her father, and her younger brother that went to this camp. Then they got to the camp after their long journey, and they met a lot of people just like them who were going through the same situation, and they ended up, their final goal or final destination was for them to get to Camp Haven. So school buses came and picked up the kids for Camp Haven, because that was honestly the basis goal, or the safe house's goal, is to get everyone to Camp Haven as well. So school buses came, picked them up, and then within 24 hours, the camp kind of went in a way under lockdown, and everyone kind of went crazy, and her father ended up passing away. And so at the camp, you have to go through a bunch of tests, and you have to get a chip inserted in your neck so they know where you are at all times. And so her little brother was at the camp, and Ben Parrish, which was the guy that Cassie was in love with before she went into lockdown and before everything happened. So they both were on the same team, or on the same squad at camp, and they were pretty much fighting or competing to become soldiers. So they ended up going through all this stuff, and it was not fun at all. And then they ended up becoming soldiers, or his squad became a soldier, and her little brother Sammy had to stay back. So they ended up going out on the field, Ben Parrish and the rest of their squad, and realized that what the others, or what the people at the camp were saying, was completely wrong, and that the chips in the back of their neck were used to kill them, and they figured it all out. So at this point, Cassie was embarking on a journey by herself because she did not end up making it to Camp Haven. So she went on this journey, and she ended up getting shot. And she got shot by a guy named Evan Walker. And at the time, she had no idea that it was him, but he ended up taking her into his house and pretty much nursing her back to health and helping her find a way to get her back to her brother. So they ended up leaving for the journey after she was healthy and after everything kind of worked out. And then within the first few days, they came in contact with 3 guys, and they wanted to be safe, so Evan ended up killing them. And Cassie then quickly realized that he was one of the others, because you wouldn't just kill innocent people. So she ended up running away, and he ended up finding her and telling her everything, and telling her who he was, what he was, why he did what he did, and all of that stuff. And he helped her plan her way to Camp Haven. So there was this main road that they were near, and so they went there and waited for a school bus to pass. So she gets on the school bus and goes to Camp Haven. And at this point, she's pretty much fallen in love with Evan, so she didn't want to go alone, but they realized that if they both went together, it would have been a suicide mission. So she got to Camp Haven, and she was going through all the tests, but then she ended up killing the doctor that was trying to insert the chip in her, because Evan told her all about how the chip was just a method of killing them and of seeing where they were at all times. So she ended up finding her little brother, and at the same time, Ben Parrish was looking for her little brother as well. So they ended up finding each other, and they all worked together to get out. So then they ended up getting trapped, or kind of caught by the people or the others that work at the base. And she ended up going and finding Evan, and Evan came to her and helped them out. And then they got out and they were trying to find the best way to get to safety. And Evan stayed back because he had one last thing to do. So they found the rest of their team and they got put onto like this car and they were driving away, and that was kind of the last because the camp was going up in flames. So Evan Walker ended up dying and Cassie ended up being with her brother and the rest of their squad. But she was really upset because the person she loved did end up dying. And yeah, so that was pretty much what happened in the fifth wave. One of my favorite lines in the book is "Nothing is not important anymore." And this is on the last page of the book, and I think this is really important because they've put all of this work in leading up to this point, and then honestly to just kind of say that in a way she's given up. And I think that is a really strong message because it shows how things have evolved and things have changed, and how she really thought that things were going to get better, but even though they did get better, they ended up getting worse as well. Another one of my favorite lines in the book is, "And if there has been something you could have done to protect your father, to save your mother, wouldn't you have done it? If you knew a lie, would you save Sammy? Wouldn't you lie?" And I think this really is showing kind of how Evan lied throughout the whole story, but she still did end up falling in love with him, and that you would really do anything for the people you love, and you would do anything to protect them, even if it did mean that you had to lie to them. And so it showed that he loved Cassie so much that he would do anything for her, and he had to lie to her or things wouldn't have been the same, and he wouldn't have been able to help her in the way he did. If I could change one thing about the book, I would make it a lot more organized. So it does have chapters within sections pretty much. So you have like chapter 1 here, but then you have that it is in the first section, The Last Historian, which I think is really interesting, and it makes the book a lot easier to follow. But I would change the fact that the sections are like split up pretty much. So you have Cassie, then you have Ben, then you have Cassie, then you have Ben. And I would rather it be just all Ben and then all Cassie, so you can kind of really enjoy that part and then go on to the next part, and then in the end have them both come together like they did in this. But I would just kind of separate it a little bit so it makes things a lot easier to understand and a lot easier to read. So I dressed up as Cassie for this video. So throughout the whole story, she was kind of beat up, so that's why I have all of these dashes and all of the scars on my face. And then I figured the camo really kind of helped kind of show what she was wearing because she was trying to blend in and she didn't want to stand out at all. And then I have a black long sleeve under this just because I feel like that was just simple and something that she would wear. And then my hair is in a bun or like behind my head because halfway throughout the story Cassie did end up chopping all of her hair off. So at first it was super long and then she chopped it off because she didn't want to worry about it and she didn't want to worry about what people thought anymore. So yeah.